we're going to start with the next ink shading technique. We are going to do a cylinder. Here's a spray can. This is not spray paint. This is a clear coat that I use on paintings. And we are going to do, let me see the technique. Let's do hatching on this. Okay. All right. So hatching is what? What are we using for hatching? What do the lines look like? Hmm? Vicente, remind me later to fix the attendance. Donovan, absolutely right. Downward, vertical lines. Okay. So let's go ahead and draw a cylinder. So a cylinder, make believe this is not like tapered. It's a nice solid straight up line. So the way you make a cylinder, I'm going to show you. We're going to do switch over to pencil. Okay. And let me zoom in so people can see this a little better. So don't make a tiny cylinder and don't make a huge one. Okay. Make an average or medium size cylinder. So we start with two ovals. Okay. And they look like this. Okay. That's one. That's going to be the top of our cylinder. Right. And then we're going to make a vertical line on each side of the cylinder. Doesn't have to be super tall, doesn't have to be, don't make it short either. Okay. Try and make it as straight as you can. Let me erase this part. All right. And then we're going to make another oval at the base. All right. So you're going to draw an oval that connects both sides of that line. And notice how I drew the whole oval. We're not going to use both lines of the oval, but I need to put that in to show you something. Okay. We're going to make the light again, just like the ball that we did last class. Going to go coming from the left as well up here. Okay. Now, so the light's coming from the left. Which side is our shadow going to fall on? The left side or the right side? The right side. Thank you, Kong. Yeah, so it's going to come from the right side, right? And the reason why I left this here, so our cylinder is rounded, right? It's rounded like this. And so right now the light, as you can see, is coming from the right-hand side of the can, which is why the shadow is over here, right? But it's laying down. It's not standing up like ours is, right? So if you notice now, it's standing up. You notice how the shadow comes from both sides of the cylinder, right? So it's coming from the back side here and the front side. So most people will draw the shadow coming from here straight out, but that's not the furthest part. So the furthest part is up here. I'm just going to draw a line going this way, and then a line going this way straight out. Okay. So remember what I said yesterday or last class? The way you figure out a shadow of an object is if you smash it, you flatten it, right? So if you smash this cylinder, it literally is just another oval, right? And so lines come from the bottom of this line here of the oval and the top of the oval straight out. And then all you do for the end, so the end is not like this, right? Because we are mimicking this curve here, okay? So the shadow has to also have that curve, right? So let me erase that. Now we can erase the back part of that oval because we're going to be filling that in, or that area in. Okay, there's our cylinder with our shadow, the top, the bottom, right? Where's the darkest part of our cylinder going to be? If the light's coming from the left-hand side. Bottom right down here is the darkest. The cylinder itself, Donovan. Okay, so for both the cylinder and the shadow. Remember, the darkest part of the shadow is the area closest to the cylinder, which is right here. And then as it goes out, it fades out a little bit. And now for the darkest part of the cylinder is going to be bottom right over here, this corner. Okay. Now let's go ahead and start. Remember, hatching requires us to do vertical strokes, just like this one, right? So we're going to go ahead and line the outside right side of the cylinder. Don't outline the whole thing, okay? We're only going to do this side for now because that is going to be the darkest part, right? Especially down here, right? And so now if you remember last class, we want it to be dark and gradually get lighter, right? So as we're going to the left, the lines should be spreading out more and more. And they should be closer together down at the bottom and closer to the right side of our cylinder. Right? So I'm going to make a few lines. One, and I'm going to change the length of my lines that I make. So they're going to get a little shorter as I go to the left, because again, the light is getting brighter. And notice how I start them all at the base of my cylinder, okay? And I move up. All right, and so now I'm going to add more closer to the right side because again, it's the darkest. Make sure, remember, nice, clean, controlled lines as best you can. Working your way up. So I'm going to make this bottom edge darker as I'm going up. The lines, the length of the lines will vary. Okay. If this is done correctly, you should be seeing an illusion of our cylinder looking like it's curving. Okay. Remember, the whole goal for any type of shading is to create that illusion that it is 3D, which we will always be doing no matter what we're shading with. So again, I'm gradually adding more lines where I feel that it should be darker, okay? And remember, they're spreading out more towards the left side of the cylinder. Okay, I'm going to make these a little longer. Remember to stop me if you have any questions or you need me to explain something again. Oops. Notice how not a lot of my lines will touch the top, that bottom rim of the top of the cylinder. Just a few, especially as I get closer to the left. I'm gonna put a line on the left edge of our cylinder, okay? I did not outline the bottom line, okay? The bottom line of our cylinder is going to be created by all these little lines that are connected to the pencil line that we drew earlier, okay? So notice how many little lines I have at the base of the cylinder. You want to add that to yours as well. And again, the left side is darker. This is going to be pretty dark at the bottom right, okay? So if you look at mine, you see how it's darker on here on the left or the right, and as I go to the left, it gets a little lighter. Okay. All right. Where do you guys think will be the brightest part of my cylinder or our cylinder? Top left. Anthony, you're absolutely right. Okay. So top left, this is going to be the brightest part. Now, keep in mind we're using straight lines hatching for this. And the top of our cylinder is oval, right? We're still going to use straight lines. And again, I'm not going to outline um, the oval unless I need it later. The goal is not to outline necessarily. Okay, so that means it's going to be brightest here, and as I go to the right, it's going to be darker, but not as dark as this here. Okay, it'll probably look more like this right here. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to make a few lines going straight across like this. And they all start where the line of my oval is. And that is again what's going to make the outline of the top of my cylinder. So it'll be a little darker here on the top right. And then I'm going to make a line hugging that top back area. Okay. And then I'm going to make another one kind of go all the way towards the end. Right. And then make maybe one more longer line. Like so. Okay. That's good for the top for now. When we erase the pencil marking that we have there, if the top or the sides don't look right, then we would add more lines. Okay. People ready for the shadow? I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay. So just like when we did the cylinder, or not the cylinder, the ball, we left a little bit of a white space in between the two so we could tell where the shadow begins and the ball ends. So same thing with the cylinder. We're going to go straight out. I'm going to outline these two lines. Okay. I'm not going to outline the curve. Okay, and I'll show you how we're going to make that curve show up. And so now I'm just going to make lines that start at the base of the cylinder, but again, leaving a little bit of space between them. And then making it super dark right next to the cylinder. And then as I go to the outside, I'm going to spread out just a little bit, and I'm going to make the lines go all the way to the line of the outline of the shadow. And that's how the outline of the shadow is going to be made. So your shadow should definitely be darker than your cylinder. So be aware of that. And then once you do this, you're ready to erase your pencil markings. And then we'll see if we need to fix anything. All right. So if you notice here, I may have to add a couple lines there. So I'm going to extend this line here just to show the rim of it. And then I'm going to extend this line just a little bit. All right, there. And so I'm not connecting that just because the light is right there and just signifying that this is the brightest part. And so it's like the line of the cylinder just fades out with the background. Okay. Yes, Alan. Just follow along. I'm recording this too, so you can check back later as well. So you can either A, catch up right now, or B, hold, and you can do that later when you watch the video, and then start where we're about to start right now. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to do, let's do cross hatching since it's right here. Okay. So cross hatching, and we are going to do the box in that ink shading technique. Okay. This is the box we're going to make. Let me zoom out. Or similar to this box, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, 5 actually with the top, and then the bottom obviously is down here, right? So what I want you to notice is the shadow and how it changes based off of how we're drawing or how we're looking at it, right? So you have a shadow that comes this way from this corner and this corner and shoots out this way, okay? Because the light is coming from this side, right? So we're going to draw a box that's kind of tilted in this direction, right? Just a little bit. And it's going to have, we might make it look so that the shadow is more like this, more straight out, as opposed to coming from both sides. Okay. All right. So we're going to do cross hatching. Grab your pencil. I'm going to zoom in. Again, don't make a huge box and don't make a small box. Please make sure though that you're making the same box I'm making, or else your shadow may look a little different from mine. Okay. All right. So a couple ways of doing this. I don't know if you've ever drawn a box before. Here's how I typically do it. So I draw 2 squares, and you've probably learned this. Try and make them as squared up as possible. If it comes out looking a little bit like a rectangle, it's not a big deal. Okay. So that's the first square. Again, try and make it straight. If it's not straight, you can just fix it a little bit. This side's a little lopsided. Okay. All right, the next one, we're going to make another square overlapping this one. So watch how I do it. It's going to be here and out this way. Okay. So 2 squares overlapping each other in here. Okay. So I guess you can say there's 3 now. And now what I'm going to do is connect the corners. This one, these 2 corners, and the bottom back corners. Okay. It looks like a rhombus. Maybe clean it up, Donovan. So this is a see-through box though. Okay, just like we did the see-through for the cylinder because we wanted to see the backside, we need to do the same thing for our box so we can see where our shadow will come out of, just like we did for the cylinder. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing, light coming from the left, right, and box, or not box, the shadow coming straight out. So this line is going to shoot straight out like this, right? And just like with the cylinder, we went to the back side of the cylinder to figure out where the shadow is coming out. Same thing here. We're going, this is the front side of the box, or closest to us, and then this is the back side of that bottom edge. And it's going to go shoot straight out as well, this way. Okay. And then, is this right for the ending of my shadow? What do you guys think? Is the way I ended my shadow correct? Correct, Kong. It's not correct. What should it look like? Can you kind of describe it for us? So the shape for our shadow of the cylinder was rounded like the top edge, right? The shadow for our ball also rounded like the ball is. The shadow for our box is straight, just like we have straight lines, but this line should match this line, and they don't. This one's at an angle and this one's straight. So that means this one has to go at the same angle that the top edge of our box is. And now it's accurate. Okay. So this edge mimics this edge. All right, we can erase the inside lines because we no longer need them, except I don't want you to erase this line right here. We're gonna make it look like our box is open. So the top of it is open, not closed like this one. Okay. Okay. Think we're ready for the pen. What's our darkest side going to be for our box? Left or right? Right side. And remember, we're doing cross hatching, so it's going to look like this, right? The layers. And we're going to start with the first layer. With this ink shading technique, we can actually outline it because the shading technique that we're using has vertical lines and horizontal lines and diagonal lines. So we're going to go ahead and just start outlining these two sides of our box. All right. Start with that first. Okay, so we said that the right side is going to be the darkest. So the bottom right or the bottom edge is going to be the darkest. As it goes up, it will get a little lighter up here, but very minimal. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with the first layer of cross hatching. So spread them out. Don't put them too close together because remember we have other layers. And now I'm going to go and do a horizontal layer. Again, spreading them out as I go up higher. I'm not going to add the diagonal layer just yet. I'm going to add more of the two layers first. And then more of the horizontal. Notice again how I'm slowly just making them closer together gradually, not all at once. Okay. All right, at this point, I'm going to add the third layer. This third layer, remember, is diagonal, but I'm actually going to make this third layer, not go all the way up right now, just yet. Because the goal right now that I'm trying to do is make sure that the bottom is the darkest part. And then gradually make it look just a little lighter as we're going up. And add the third layer. A little more. All right. All right, it's looking better. Make the bottom edge pretty dark. I hope you guys are noticing how much time we're taking in doing these. Okay, all right, that's pretty good for now. We can add some more later. This left side, should it be darker or lighter than this right side? Again, should the left side be darker or lighter than the side we just finished? Yes, it should be lighter. Now, remember how there's the horizontal layer? We're not going to make it perfectly straight. We're going to mimic these two lines, these angles. If we make it straight, layer across, it's going to make our box look a little lopsided and wonky. Okay. So again, I'm going to start with the vertical layer at the bottom. So the one trick about this one, since the light is here, this side will be lighter than the right side. So we want to make sure that the right side is a little darker. So again, I'm going to start with the vertical layer. Going straight up. All right. Again, the right side is going to be a little darker. Make them a little shorter at the bottom and closer together because the bottom edge will be darker. Okay. Leave yourself a little tiny white edge between both sides so that you can tell where one side begins and the other one ends. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add the second layer, but it's going to be at an angle to mimic this line and this line. So starting at the bottom again, and then working my way up. Try and keep the same angle as you go up. Okay. And then start adding more lines. Whoops. Again, careful not to make it as dark as the right side. So I might not even add a third layer just because I'm afraid it will look too dark. Okay. That's pretty good. Maybe I'll add a couple third layers. All right, but that's pretty good there. All right, again, this side should not be as dark as the other side we just did. Okay. Okay. Before we go to the top, because it's a little tricky, let's go to the shadow. Shadow, pretty straightforward, right? Very similar to the cylinder, but we're adding more layers. Again, you can go ahead and outline the shadow. Remember to leave yourself a little thin line between the shadow and the object. And it's going to be super dark closest to the box. And then as it goes away, it'll be a little lighter. So make it pretty dark closest to the box. And then third layer. Cool. All right. We're going to go ahead and outline the top edge or edges and this little line here. So I want to kind of point out how we're doing this. So this is our open box. Okay. Notice, here, let me try and put it similar to how we're looking at it. Like this. Okay. This side is this side. This left side is this left side. The top is right here. Okay. This line, the vertical line, is this one back here. Okay. The trick though is how you shade it. Oops. Is how you shade the inside, right? Now, the light is a little different for the actual box than it is for ours. So for the light on this one, it's coming this way. But you may think, well, why is it coming that way if it's super dark over here compared to over here? Well, the light hits this part first because it's being blocked by these two sides, and that's why it is darker on this side. So ours is coming from the left-hand side. What's going to be the darkest? The left side or the right side? Is the left side here going to be darker, or is the right side going to be darker? Yes, this side is going to be darker, and this side is going to be lighter. Since it's lighter, we might not have to use all 3 layers, because again, if you add too many layers, it's going to look too dark, right? So we might just do 2 layers, the vertical layer and then the horizontal layer, okay? So we said this side, I'm just going to do vertical lines, and I'm going to make it come out of here, so straight up. Notice how I'm leaving a little bit of a white space between where I started, just so that we don't get confused between the edge of the box, okay? And then what I'm going to do, so it gets darker as we go down to the bottom of the box. And a little lighter as we go to the top. It's okay, by the way, if you have these little segments. That sometimes helps more when you're trying to make something look a little lighter, okay? I'm going to make it just a little darker down at the bottom there. Like that. Okay. And now this right edge, so only 2 layers. This right edge, I'm only going to add 1 layer. And this one, again, it will be super light. Like that. Go ahead and grab your eraser. And erase all your lines, your pencil marks, and hopefully it still looks like a box. There you go. So now we made an open box with a shadow on it. Cool. All right. Last one is going to be cone. And we're going to do stippling. Grab your pencil. Do I need to wait for people, or is everyone good?